you do go out, wear a mask. When you get home, thoroughly wash your hands and feet. Third, fully wash any fruits or vegetables that have been exposed to yellow dust. And last of all, get plenty of water. Keep up to date on weather forecasts for the latest yellow dust information.
This campaign was brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어방송.
I was so busy this morning. I didn't even get to check my messages. I almost got hit.
Here comes the safety hero. Stop right there, Smombi. Put your phone away. Keep your head up. Look around.
What was I doing? Thank you. I'm finally free from being a smombie.
As you just heard, even a quick text could lead to a serious accident. This kind of behavior has a name, smombi, a word created by combining smartphone and zombie.
Walk with your head up and check your surroundings before you move. Let's build a safer traffic culture and keep our streets free from smombies. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
The big news right now is this 2-week ceasefire agreement between the United States and Iran. South Korea welcomed the move, expressing hopes that it would pave the way for the full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. However, with Israel continuing its attacks on Lebanon, Iran closed the strait again. Should we remain optimistic over this fragile temporary ceasefire, or are our hopes more like the cherry blossoms that are hanging on for dear life before the wind sweeps them away? So sad. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, April 9th on BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, Wavers. Welcome to our program on this Thursday morning. Yes, I couldn't help myself, to talk about our hopes, kind of like the cherry blossoms. Are they disappearing? I don't know. This fragile ceasefire, it's holding for now. But of course, any developing stories, we will bring you the latest. Well, the cherry blossoms, they're on their last legs. So I certainly hope that you have enjoyed them while they are in full bloom. So what are some of your favorite cherry blossom spots? Many people in Busan go to the cherry blossom trails by the Nakdonggang riverbank in Sasangu district, which holds its famous annual festivals. Because this is a long, flat stretch with ramps going up and down the riverbank, it is a wheelchair accessible spot. And on any given day, you'll see people in wheelchairs across different ages enjoying the best of the season. However, although the road itself is wheelchair accessible, there are actually no wheelchair accessible restrooms anywhere around the stretch. All the restrooms in the park are these containers. You know those containers that are, restrooms basically on higher ground. You got to step up, right? And you need to access those type of restrooms via stairs. And even the ones that are flat on the ground, they're not large enough for a wheelchair to fit and to maneuver around in. So these individuals with disabilities say that in order to come to these parks, they have to really prepare in advance and make sure to not drink anything, definitely not water, or even maybe have to carry portable toilets. And the district in charge, Sasangu district, assigned a budget for accessible restrooms 3 years ago, but the plan wasn't approved by the environmental authorities and basically just fizzled out. The Nakdonggang River Basin Environmental Office says that it cannot allow for structures to be built on riverbanks that are there to prevent river flooding, as restrooms and plumbing can affect the bank's safety. But some find this explanation unconvincing, as there are already restrooms along the riverbank, not just wheelchair-accessible ones. So, these trees, the park, they're all public property. And they should be open and accommodating to all members of society and the public, should they not be? Just a thought that I'm throwing out there, so let me know what you think. So speaking of the cherry blossoms, here is our text topic. Where were some of the best cherry blossom spots, the spring hot spots that you visited this year? So 내가 올해 가본 벚꽃 명소는, oh, by the way, it could be like your backyard or maybe your apartment. Like our apartment has a few cherry blossom trees. Maybe your house is the hot spot. Like, oh, I love it here during spring because you see all the cherry blossoms. Maybe on your way to work. I'm going to send a few photos to Yeji PD님 in a little bit because I'm so bad at taking photos. I've been practicing. Anyhow, don't judge my photos, but yes, I took some photos this spring as well. So feel free to send in your photos, but you can't send them through, the YouTube channel, obviously. Ooh, that's so pretty. And so we'll get some, this is from 수영강 앞 예지 PD님이 찍으셨대요. 너무 예뻐요. 피디님처럼 예쁘네요. 네. 자, you can send in your responses to, 난리 났어요, 저기. BEFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. Go to the YouTube platform and type in BEFM, 부산 영어 방송, to find our channel. Subscribe, log in, and chat with other waivers from your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 101. And this is really important. So if you're going to send in your photos, this is probably the best way to do so. You got to join us on Kakao Talk. So find our account first, type in BEFM or 부산 영어 방송, add us as a friend, and then you can send in your messages, and please send in your photos. And by the way, if you send in photos this way, I can't promise we're going to post all of them. However, we'll try. And also, if you send us the photos, you're giving us permission to post them on our YouTube page, I'm assuming, right? All right, so you can tune into Morning Wave in Busan through the radio, 90.5 or 103.3 FM. That's if you're in the Busan area. Like I said, we're streaming live right now. Check us out. And you can catch us on the BFM app and Papang app as well. So here's a lineup. It goes like this today. We have Now in Busan with Jian, Haley for Top Stories, hour number 1, hour number 2, Wagga Wagga Tea Time. Dr. Ryu Sang-hyo is coming in for Ask Dr. Ryu. We have Michael Kang for Cultural Interlude. That's coming up in hour number 2. And it's a busy, busy day. We have a lot of news to cover. Hence, we have 2 special interviews today. So first up, we're going to talk about AI, facial recognition, and wrongful arrests. Because sometimes tech can get it wrong, right? So we're going to talk about this in hour number 2. Also, because of the breaking news yesterday that we shared with you with this ceasefire, we're going to talk about the ins and outs and the different facets, stuff that has happened since that ceasefire was announced. That's coming up in hour number 2 as well. I'll be back with news overview. It is now 7:07, and this is News Overview. U.S.-Iran ceasefire holds unsteady over Lebanon. The 2-week ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran hangs in the balance as Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz in response to Israel's attacks on Lebanon that killed over 250 people. Cheongwon vows efforts for South Korean vessels transit through Hormuz. The presidential office yesterday pledged utmost efforts to ensure that South Korean ships will be able to safely pass through the Strait of Hormuz following the announcement of the U.S.-Iran ceasefire. Kospi jumps 7%. Won reaches 1-month high over Iran ceasefire. The benchmark Kospi index rose by nearly 7% and ended the day at 5,872 points yesterday, with the Korean won rising to 1,471 to the dollar after the U.S.-Iran ceasefire. Special counsel seeks 15 years for ex-First Lady in corruption appeals. The Minjung-gi special counsel yesterday demanded a 15-year prison term for former First Lady Kim Gun-hee in her appeals trial on multiple corruption charges, including accepting luxury goods from the Unification Church. North Korea conducts back-to-back ballistic missile launches. North Korea fired ballistic missiles toward the EC on 2 occasions yesterday in a rare back-to-back launch that came amid Pyongyang's hostile stance toward Seoul. And this was News Overview. It is now time for Now in Busan, and we have Tien in the studio. Let's say hi first. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yay. So today we're talking about cherry blossoms. Have you been able to enjoy them?
Yes, definitely. But I had no enough time to go to famous spots. But instead, right in front of our radio station.
I know.
Yes, the trees were so beautiful.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Yes. So at least we enjoy them on the way to work.
Yes, it was such a huge pleasure for me all the time.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about this. I hear the city's starting a major renewal project for older planned neighborhoods. So tell us more about this.
Yes, Busan is moving ahead with a large-scale redevelopment plan targeting planned residential districts that are now more than 20 years old.
Yes.
The first phase of the city's aging planned city renewal plan has been approved, making Busan the first non-capital region to receive approval.
Yes. Which areas in Busan are included in this project, and how large is this redevelopment plan?
The project focuses on two major areas, the Hwamyeong and Kumgok areas in Bukgu district and the Haeundae-gu district covering parts of Chadong and Chungdong. Together, the plan includes more than 70 apartment complexes and about 55,000 households.
Wow. So what makes this redevelopment possible now?
Until recently, reconstruction was difficult because of low floor area ratios, which made projects financially burdensome for residents.
Right.
But under a new national law on aging planned city renewal, limits on building density can be increased and several apartment complexes can move forward with redevelopment together.
I see. I'm sure this will be of good news to many people in this area. All right, next up, an update for transportation here in Haeundae. I hear the intercity bus terminal is relocating. So what's happening?
The Haeundae Intercity Bus Terminal will relocate to a nearby site after struggling to secure a replacement location earlier. The move comes after the lease on the current site expired late last year and rent had surged sharply, reportedly more than tripling over the past decade.
Wow. So how will the new terminal operate?
The operator plans to rent nearby space for a ticket office while buses will pick up and drop off passengers at the new stop. The relocation is expected to take place in early May after administrative procedures are completed.
Yes. So with so many passengers using the terminal each year, how will traffic congestion be managed?
Since nearly 1 million passengers use the terminal each year, the district also plans traffic measures. And to reduce congestion, buses will no longer wait in the area. Instead, parking depots will move to the outskirts, leaving leaving only the boarding function at the terminal.
I see. Thanks for letting us know about this one. And now we're going to talk about design and culture here in our city. I hear Busan is preparing to launch a major new design event later this year. What's the plan?
Busan City has signed a cooperation agreement to move forward with the global Busan Design Fair, which is a large-scale design exhibition scheduled for November. The event will be held in Busan for the first time and is expected to become one of the country's biggest design-focused fair.
Well, how is Busan planning to shape its own style of design fair?
The city says it is taking inspiration from international events like Milan Design Week, aiming to create a Busan-style model where design can be experienced across the entire city rather than just inside exhibition halls.
I see. So when and where will the fair take place, and what kinds of programs are planned?
The Global Busan Design Fair will run from November 5th to 15th, with programs taking place at multiple locations across the city, including vacant factories in Dongdaegu District.
Yes.
The event will feature a K-Design Pavilion, industry exhibitions, design streets, and a global design conference.
Okay, well, we look forward to more information on this as it approaches. And now let's talk about a new traffic and energy-saving measure. The vehicle restriction system started this week, but I hear that there was some confusion on the first day. So what happened?
Yes, Busan has implemented 2 different vehicle control systems as part of an energy-saving campaign.
Right.
But on the first day, many drivers were unaware of the new rules, which caused some confusion at major public parking facilities.
That's right. So let's go over this, okay? How does the system work?
So under the 5-day rotation system, 차량 오부제, certain license plate numbers are restricted from entering public parking lots on specific days.
Okay.
However, some locations, including traditional markets, tourist attractions, and transit hubs, are exempt from the rule. Meanwhile, public institutions introduced a 2-day alternative rotation, 차량 2부제, for staff vehicles to reduce energy use.
Yes. So why are some residents confused about this?
Because the policy was newly introduced, and some residents mixed up the 2 systems.
Right.
So the local governments say they plan to strengthen public guidance as the program continues.
Right, and here on our show, we'll try to do our best to keep you updated and remind you
every day
of these systems. All right, for our final story, it's about the city's pet patrol program this year. What is this?
That's right. Busan's Autonomous Police Commission says its volunteer dog walking patrol program will expand to every district across the city this year. This initiative allows residents to patrol their neighborhoods while walking their dogs, helping spot potential safety risks or suspicious situations.
Yes. Has the program been effective so far?
Actually, yes. It first launched in October 2022, and last year expanded to 277 teams across 10 districts, carrying out more than 13,000 patrol walks. During those patrols, they reported 267 everyday safety issues, including intoxicated individuals on the street, broken traffic signals, and damaged roads.
So what's changing this year?
This year, the program will expand to 6 additional areas: 중구 District, 서구 District, 영도구 District, 북구 District, 강서구 District, and 기장군 County, meaning it will now operate citywide.
Okay.
The commission plans to recruit new participants from those districts through May 10th, aiming to strengthen community-based crime prevention with the help of local residents and their pets.
I see. Well, thank you for going over the local news today. Maybe you can catch the last of the cherry blossoms?
Yes.
Okay. We'll check in with you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Everybody, this was Chien. I'll be back with your traffic and weather. It's time for your traffic report. It's now 7:17 on this Thursday morning. Let's talk about the congestion on Mandakdero from Manda Catholic Church to Deokcheon intersection. It's backed up on Luno-Samsung-daedo from Myeongji underpass to Shino Bridge right now. There is traffic building on Gwanmun-daedo from Bangeum Tunnel to Baegang Tunnel. And it's slow on the Dongso overpass from Hwangyong Ramp to Kaegum. It's currently 12 degrees Celsius here in Busan, and apparently it's raining, at least in some areas. And with a daytime high, it's expected to go up to 16 today. Across the nation, you can expect rain with heavy rain along the Jeonnam, Gyeongnam coasts and Jeju. This spring rain will also bring about heavy winds, so we need to be extra careful. And this might be the last of the cherry blossoms, so enjoy them while you can. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for Top Stories. We have Haley in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. A little
Good.
tired. I don't
Yeah.
know. The weather.
It's the weather.
Oh.
Well, let's talk about cherry blossoms. Maybe that or spring flowers, anything in terms of something to help us.
Yeah. So
the day.
it's also around this area. Although I have
Uh-huh.
to say, I live in. Where do I live? Chure? Like, right, I'm like, I'm
Hello?
somewhere I live, where I live. We do, because it's an older apartment complex. I think that's the thing. Because there's that really old apartment complex in Namcheondong that's also a cherry blossom
Really
hotspot.
pretty.
But really, any older apartment complex will have the trees that have been there forever. So
True.
they kind of have that cherry blossom tunnel. But this is my running route. So
Let's see.
cute photo. This is along Suyeonggang River. So I love cherry blossoms at night.
That's so pretty.
Right? Because I did try to take pictures of the street in front of our station, but that was on one of those bad fine dust days. So it just looked real gloomy. But
I have
then
a couple of those shots.
I
I'll
know,
share.
right?
Yeah.
If it's at night, then it doesn't really matter that the sky's not blue. And also behind there is the Suyeonggang, the human bridge. It's
a really
gorgeous.
nice shot.
It's really pretty. Thank you.
And plus, you're so good at taking
Thank
photos.
you. I try. I messed up my running record for that picture, so
that
better
picture?
better be worth it.
No, like every time I try to take a photo, my sister's like, "Call Haley." I'm like, she's working. She has other stuff to do. I'm gonna call her and be like,
What
"How
can
do I take
do
a photo?"
over the phone? Like carefully,
Like carefully,
with your fingers.
like literally, we're at a cafe and she's like, 헬리한테 전화하면 안 돼. I'm like, do you know her? Like, are we? And she's like,
어디한테 좌표를 찍어 어디신데요? 제가 갈게요.
I talk about our morning wave team all the time, so I think she feels like she knows all of you.
I feel like
Which
I
is-
know your sister.
Yeah. Well, you know, so much stuff. And yeah, we're gonna jump into some top stories. We're gonna begin with what's been going on the U.S.-Iran ceasefire. What's happening?
A lot has been happening, and it's only been 24 hours,
Oh my gosh.
if that.
Yes.
But it's already kind of under threat and hanging by a thread. So the sticking point, as you mentioned in the opening, Israel and Lebanon.
Yes.
Because Israel has been intensifying its airstrikes over Lebanon, which is, of course, home to Iran's proxy group, Hezbollah.
Right.
In fact, it's not only been intensifying, but Israel conducted its largest attack on Lebanon yet during this war and killed at least 254 people.
That's right. But is this not a violation of the ceasefire?
And that's under controversy because the ceasefire, as we reported on it yesterday, was directly between the U.S. and Iran, of course, mediated by Pakistan. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Lebanon is not a part of the ceasefire, and the U.S. backed this up later. But we should note that in terms of Israel, because it is the U.S.-Israel war against Iran,
Right.
it doesn't seem that Israel has wholeheartedly accepted the ceasefire, because Benjamin Netanyahu, in his address to the nation, said that the ceasefire was not the end and that Israel has more goals to achieve. But going back to Lebanon, perhaps one of its goals, Iran and Pakistan, which helped broker the deal, they've asserted that the ceasefire does include Lebanon. Also, to that end, the Iran or Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said that it'll deliver a regret-inducing response if Israel strikes on Lebanon and doesn't stop immediately.
Yeah, so that's just another facet of what's going on. And this has led to Iran closing off the Strait of Hormuz, right?
And that is a part, if I should say, a major part of the ceasefire was
Right.
for Iran to open this crucial strait. So Iranian state media said oil tankers that have been passing through the Strait of Hormuz, they've been stopped as a result of this ceasefire breach.
Right.
But though it's been kind of a they said situation because in a very recent White House briefing, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that these reports are false, and she added that what's being said publicly is different from what's being said privately, and that there's been an uptick in shipping traffic. But she also relayed that President Donald Trump found these reports unacceptable.
Yes. In the meantime, the market saw a huge rebound yesterday after the U.S. and Iran announced this 2-week ceasefire.
Right, because timing-wise, again, the ceasefire came around 8:30 Korea
Right.
time. So markets, were already open, but the full open at 9 o'clock. We
Yes.
definitely saw them respond. So the Kospi began the day almost 6 points higher, starting at over 5,800 points. Buyers rushed in to the point that the Korea Exchange had to issue a 5-minute buy-side sidecar. 6 minutes after the opening of the Kospi, 13 minutes after the opening of the tech-heavy Kosdaq.
Yes.
Sidecars are implemented if there's basically too much market activity, numbers increasing by 5% for at least a minute.
Yes.
It was on an upward rally all day, going past 5,900 points at one point, but ended the day at the 5,870 point range.
I see. And it does seem that the foreign investors, they're back.
Right, and that is important because during this now over a month-long war, the volatility that drove foreign investors away from the Korean stock market.
Right.
So since, of course, the war, the attack happened on February 28th, the first market day after the war, that was March 3rd, foreign investors marked a net sale, meaning there are more sell-offs than purchases, 21 days out of the 25 market days. But it flipped yesterday as foreign investors bought up Korean stocks, especially in the semiconductor sector. So foreigners had net purchases, 순배수, meaning they bought more than they sold, reaching 2.4 trillion won. Interestingly, though, domestic investors are chemis. They've been holding up the market in those 25 days, but it seems like they were trying to make up for their losses yesterday with the markets.
Right.
Doing well, and they sold a net sale at over 5.4 trillion won.
Very interesting. Yes. All right. We'll, of course, address the ceasefire in hour number 2. You can wait for that in our special interview. Up next, North Korea conducted another act of provocation yesterday morning.
2 acts, as a matter of fact. So North Korea fired unidentified ballistic missiles into the East Sea on 2 occasions yesterday. And that was also the second consecutive day that Pyongyang fired projectiles onto the East Sea.
Sure.
So let's start with the first day. On Tuesday, the projectile apparently showed abnormalities and combusted in the early stages.
Yes.
So it seems that according to the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff, they speculate that this was likely a ballistic missile. So the firings yesterday was kind of the second attempt. In terms of the details of the launch, the first launch came at about 8:50 a.m. That one flew some 240 kilometers to the northeast direction.
Sure.
After launch, same direction at 2:20 p.m., flew much further at 700 kilometers. The Joint Chiefs speculate that the missiles are in the KN-23 line, which is North Korea's version of Russian Iskander missiles.
I see. And this is tied into Kim Yo-jong's recent comments.
Right. So it seems not only strategic in terms of military, but also perhaps political, because South Korea and North Korea, we've had kind of a push and pull or managing of expectations in recent days.
Right.
So this week, it started off with maybe signs of improvement. That's because President Lee Jae-myung expressed regrets over the civilian drones infiltrating into North Korean airspace and said that this unnecessary military tension was a reckless behavior. North Korea, in response, issued its first positive statement towards South Korea in a long time.
Right.
Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, said that her brother described the South Korean President Lee as, quote, frank and broad-minded, and that Pyongyang appreciates what she called this wise behavior.
Right. And this does seem like positive signs.
Right. So, frank, broad, wise. So that's how South Korea interpreted this. And Cheongwade and the Unification Ministry actually both said that this is the two Koreas indirectly seeing eye to eye.
Right. However, there's a big but. North Korea quickly drew a line and refuted this.
Right. So North Korea said, not so fast.
Okay.
So first Vice Foreign Minister Chang Kim-cheol said in a statement that interpretation is wishful, absurd, and foolish. So he stated that the core of Kim Yo-jong's message was a clear warning, and that the positive assessment towards President Lee was meant as, at least there's one decently honest person amongst you shameless lot. That was his direct quote translated.
Okay.
Well, to this, Cheongwade said yesterday that this insulting rhetoric was not helpful for peace and stability on the Korean peninsula.
Yes. So this is the story there for now. Moving on, I see that you have brought in some numbers about medical care here in Korea.
It is kind of cold. Sniffles, allergy season.
Yes.
People are a bit sick. So South Koreans went to local clinics and doctors' offices a little less in 2024 than they did in the last 4 years, but still a lot more than in the other developed countries. So this is according to Health Insurance Review and Assessment Service data from earlier this week. So in 2024, the latest data, an average South Korean person went to outpatient treatment. So your usual doctor's visits on almost 18 occasions.
18?
So think about that. Last year, or how many times do you go to the doctor's office?
I can count on one hand.
I think so too.
Right.
But 18 is the average. And this is a slight decline by about 0.6% from the year before. And actually, a first time that the figure decreased since 2020. But still, from our shock, this is still triple the number of outpatient visits by other OECD countries.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm not the only one that thinks that's a lot, right?
I mean, but I think you and I are in the sort of healthy age group, so yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So how should we read into this data?
Right, so it's probably not because Koreans are getting sick the triple number of other countries, but more of an indicator of high access to medical care here in South Korea.
Okay, yes. So what are some of the biggest reasons that people seek or sought medical care?
Gender played a little bit of a role because women were more likely to go to the doctors than men. 21.8 times on average to males 17.3. So a bit of a difference there. Of course, age. If you're younger, let's say if you're a 20 to 24-year-old, you went to the doctors on average of 8.7 times a year. That's still
a lot.
Not
in my
small.
head, yeah.
Right, but then you increase. You're peaking at 75 to the 79 age group, 40.8 times per year.
So this is like outpatient, right?
Outpatient. But then I'm assuming at this point, you do have to see your doctor regularly. You are likely to have pre-existing conditions and get medication. But in terms of ailments, though, joint and bone issues were apparently the top reason.
And then hence you should go.
Yeah.
right.
Definitely.
Take care of yourself. All right. Let's move on and talk about an aspect of the country's general birth rate issue. We're going to focus on single moms and unwed couples.
Right, or unwed couples. Because we do talk about the marriage rate, and that does directly correlate to the birth rate. But we've also seen some high-profile cases of celebrities, for example, choosing to have children without being married. Usually that's in cases of being single mothers.
Yes.
The government's also been emphasizing this open policy to not create discrimination against diverse form of families as a part of its population policy.
Okay, so let's start with some data. Has there actually been an increase in I hate this word, but like unwed births.
Right.
Yes.
And this is, the terminology is a little iffy and murky because in Korean, we're specifically talking about 비혼 출산. So you are intentionally deciding to have a child without being married.
Right.
And there's no exact data on this because it is a fairly new phenomenon because we also can't go around interviewing, or they haven't, mothers saying, well, was this intentional or unintentional?
Right.
Was it, or is it divorce, bereavement, or a
Exactly.
choice?
Yes.
So statistically, all of this is categorized under births outside of marriages. And they include children born from couples who are living together but not technically registered for marriages or single mothers. So between the years 1981 and 2011, the annual figure for this quote-unquote unwed births, that's always been under 10,000. But then there's a little bit of an outlier in 2021, but an outlier. Let's look at the pattern. Currently, 2023 and 2024, big jump going over 10,000 at 10,857. And in 2024, 13,827.
Okay.
Percentage-wise, the total number of births from unwed parents or unwed mothers, that was under 1% of all births until 2011. And then in 2023, 4.7%. 24, 5.8%.
Ah, okay. So let's look at the reasons behind such big jumps.
Right. So social reasons, changes in family and how people are perceiving these non-traditional or diverse families.
Yes.
Of course, we have the scientific achievements in vitro fertility, treatments, artificial inseminations, freezing eggs or embryos.
Right.
But those scientific advancements in fertility medicine, that's been there for decades. So it seems social reasons are more to be credited for these changes.
Sure.
Because a 2024 survey showed that 43 and 42% of men and women, respectively, in their 20s, they agreed on having children without being married. Not particularly that they wanted to do it themselves, but socially, it's fine.
They're okay with it.
Yeah.
Yes. But South Korea is still behind in terms of the global trend on this.
Right. And I do have to give you a disclaimer. We're not giving any moral judgment on what form of family is fundamentally superior or inferior, nor any society is better or worse for having them. But it is about having social structures to support diverse form of families.
Right.
So the OECD average for unwed births in 2023 was 43%. 2023 in South Korea was 4.7%. So kind of a tenfold difference.
Okay.
Really interesting. Highest percentages came from Latin American countries. Colombia at 87%, Chile 78%, Costa Rica 74%, Mexico 73%. So a lot more were unwed, births from unwed couples. A lot of European countries showing over 50% ranges as well. So again, South Korea falling kind of in the bottom three, only ahead of Turkey and Japan. So a bit of a cultural difference there.
Yes.
But it's not just culture, it's also the legal system.
Yes.
A lot of these countries have legal systems that give rights to couples or partners outside of marriages, including for same-sex couples. And benefits include tax, health insurance, and support for the kids' education.
Right.
So experts say that for South Korea, unless we too have these legal support measures for legal partnerships, most of the support measures for these so-called unwed births will just stop at kind of single-parent support.
I see. Very interesting to go over this story. All the stories, of course. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
All right, we are due for a song. So here it is. This is Man I Need by Olivia Dean.
Talk to me, talk to me. Talk to me, talk to me. Looks like we're making up for lost time. Need you to spell it out for me. Bossing over on all night. It's like a type of alchemy. Introduce me to your best friend. I can come and slide right in. A satellite ain't even that far. I kinda wonder where you are. Already know I can leave it alone. You're on my mind. Already gave you the time and the place. So don't be shy. Just come be the man I need. Tell me you got something to give. I want it. I kinda like it when you call me wonderful. Whatever the type of talk it is, come on then. I gotta know you're meant to be the man I need. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Be the man that I need, baby. Talk to me, be the man that I need. Talk to me, be the man that I need, baby. Talk to me, be the man. I'd like to think you feel the same way, but I can't tell with you sometimes. So baby, let's get on the same page. Stop making me read between the lines. Already know I can leave it alone. You're on my mind. Already gave you the time and the place. So don't be shy. Just come be the man I need. Tell me you got something to
It is time for Ask Dr. Ryu because Dr. Ryu Sang-hyo is here. Good morning.
Ba-bum.
Bye-bye. He's here. How
I'm
are you?
here.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, but sad part is that it's raining and then all the cherry blossom leaves are falling.
So I think today's text topic is perfect because they might not be there tomorrow with the heavy winds and all the rain, or many of them they're gonna be gone. So do you have any favorite spots like you want to go to, or you would recommend for cherry blossom viewing?
Several years back, near Gwangham Bridge, there's some apartment complex.
Yes.
They have a very good cherry blossom. Something apartments. But these is cherry blossom is everywhere
That's
in Busan
true.
area. So one day when I went home after work, I saw the cherry blossom that's blooming just right in front of my apartment. Yeah.
Is that? Oh, you took that photo?
Yeah, I took that photo.
Nice.
That's two days ago.
아파트 예쁘네요.
Thank you. You know what? When I was young, I was moved by all of those cherry blossoms of sceneries. But at some point, I started change. I'm not sure I did it. It doesn't. I wasn't. My testosterone might have dropped a little bit.
Really?
And also, I'm not sure if I'm getting older or not, but some say that if you are really into taking pictures of photos, which means you're getting older.
Okay, now that he has just killed all of us.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! No. I agree. With the photo taking and stuff, I'm so bad at taking photos, but I've been trying to taking more photos to improve on my skills. And so, yeah, that's true though. I don't know. I definitely, as I get older, I feel like, flowers are so beautiful.
Yeah.
다 꽃길만 걸었으면 좋겠고. I feel what you're saying.
Yeah,
yes.
And speaking of older, for your information briefly,
Yes.
I didn't like kids when I was young, but this is whenever I see some babies or see little kids,
Oh, no.
I couldn't get my eyes off of them.
Yeah, that's true too. Yes. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit personal touch with Dr. Du. And then now we're going to jump into our topic for today. What are we talking about?
Brain implant.
Oh, brain. Oh, we're going to talk about brain implants.
Yes, brain implants. Never heard of it before?
Oh, no, of course. We have heard about them. But, I mean, it just sounds like science fiction. And then we hear these news stories. Are they real?
Yes, totally real.
Okay.
As a neurologist, I could see all those procedures when I was in medical school, a training hospital, when a patient underwent surgery, their skull removed and their brain surface exposed. And what neurologist does to those patients is we put all those electrodes on the surface of the brain, and then we can tell which part of the brain is moving their arms or legs. And so scientists now know that what part of brain is to do with emotion, sad, and also moving your eyes and arms and things like that. So what brain implants does is formally called is a brain-computer interface. Abbreviation is BCI.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a device that creates a direct link between the human brain and a computer. In simple terms, your thought becomes commands. Instead of physically moving your hand, you can just think of moving it, and machine does it for you. Like Star Wars, spread your arms and palm facing the objects, and then you're thinking you're gonna move that subject. Yeah, that like that.
Your sound effects are so good today.
Thank you.
Okay. So basically, by thinking it, you can control something externally. You're saying, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So every time we think, move, feel, the brain produces electric signals.
Yes.
So BCI technology reads those signals and translates them into digital commands and sends them to a device where it's a robotic arm, a computer sensor, even a voice generator. So if you look at the brain, each region has a mapped representation of different parts of our body, like I said. So in patients with especially the spinal cord injuries, there's signals generated in their brain, but they cannot transmit it through their signals through the spinal cords to their hands and feet, which is why they're unable to walk. Which is why they are unable to walk or move grasping. However, these implanting electrodes on the surface of the brain, these signals can be captured and connected to external devices. When combined with technologies like computer-linked gloves, they have to wear computer kind of oriented artificial gloves. But with the help of that, even patients with spinal cord paralyzed, they can grab and they can move their arms and they can drink with their water on their own. So this BCI interface computer technologies so amazing. So yeah, this China company commercialized it first. The company name is Neuracle, not Miracle, but it's Neuracle.
Neuracle, okay. So that is a massive milestone. But we've also heard about, I think Elon Musk is connected with Neuralink or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. I know Elon Musk Neuralink because I kind of a little favor of him, but and also he has many companies. As far as I know, he has 6 companies. One of the company is Neuralink. And the reason I know this company is that the co-founder of this company is Korean American. And then he moved to the States when he was 10 years old. And then he started this company with Elon Musk from the day one. Anyhow, this Neuralink has a little bit of has a different approach. China, I told you, Neuracle, they adopt a little not that invasive. Their electrodes, they insert their electrodes on the surface of the brain.
There we go.
On the surface of the brain. And then it detects the signal, brain signal, and that electrodes detects the signal, brain signal, and sends those signals to machine and artificial gloves, and then the people can move their fingers and arms. But in case of Elon Musk, their electrodes are like fine, minute, hair-like electrodes. Those are placed underneath the surface of our brain, which means they are placed in our brain parenchyma, brain cells in itself. A little invasive one. So it requires more delicate, it requires more precision, it requires more a little complicated procedure. But they're in still clinical trial. And also I know what they are struggling for, because when these kind of electrodes goes into our brain cells, our body thinks that, it's not our own products. So our immune system gets activated.
It's a foreign body.
It's a foreign body. But Chinese products that are commercialized, that doesn't bring about those kind of reaction. So Elon Musk, the Neuralink, has faced this kind of obstacle. They are trying to figure it out. But still, there's some kind of a hindrance or obstacle that they have to go over, come over, or get over.
But I have a question. So we understand, better understanding for the Chinese company, it's more on the surface. Neuralink, it's more invasive. It's under the surface. But the real patient outcomes, does it work? We saw a couple photos. If you're on our YouTube link, you can see our channel. You saw some of the photos there, but does this work is a big question.
Well, I first I read this article the other day. I had my goosebumps all over my body because it worked fantastically. Even the person with quadriplegic. Quadriplegic means all 4 extremists are paralyzed. Within 7 days, he could move with a little bit of a help independently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So every patient successfully performed basic grasping movements, and also many could eat and drink independently, again, using their own hands, which is neuroplasticity. Even though their spinal cord is severed or cut,
yes,
some little fibers are intact. In that case, with the help of this kind of artificial glove, they gotta relearn how to communicate back and forth. So after using this device for more than a year,
yes,
many patients regain their power without the help of this glove.
Amazing.
Yes. And so many people can eat and drink independently again, but not as fine as our normal person does. But they move arms strong enough to hold their cups by themselves.
But that's leaps and bounds still. I mean, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
If you are immobile, I can't even imagine, I've had my arm in a cast for a wrist injury, and you just feel 답답해, just not being able to use your wrist for a week, right?
Yeah. Can you imagine without moving totally right? If you're righty, without moving your right hand or right arm, it's gonna be really how can I say, depressing or frustrating.
Oh, absolutely.
But with this technology, as a neurologist, it's restoring our human dignity.
Right, I agree with you. I fully agree. And in terms of, we have several races going on. There's a race to the moon, race to Mars. And then we have this also. I'm thinking of it as kind of a race because, yes, you talk about restoring human dignity, but in terms of countries and companies and entrepreneurs, I'm sure they want to be the first to really master this, right?
Yeah, that's right. So China and the U.S., they're racing, competing against each other. But like I said, Neuralink is taking the high risk and high reward route.
Okay.
Ultra thin, flexible electrodes inserted inside the brain. But at this moment, I think China, has a little bit edge on this one because it's safer than Neuralink. It's much faster and it's practical. And also, the reason China has a little bit of jump start is that it's government funding.
Yes. Okay, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, China's government puts a lot of money, and also the regulation. In the U.S., there are a lot of bureaucracy, red tapes, and a lot of regulations.
Absolutely, yes.
But in China, the government is very, very supportive of this kind of a company. That's why China has a little bit edge on this one.
Yes. It does sound really, really exciting. And of course, we look forward to, hearing more about these types of companies and technology. A little, I don't want to say scary, but, concern.
Oh, yeah, right? That's right.
Yes.
I feel the same way you do.
Okay.
Today we are giving paralyzed people their hands back, and tomorrow we could restore speech, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe sharpen memories.
Okay.
Or even let people communicate directly brain to brain. It's not far-fetched dream. As a neurologist, I know this field.
Okay.
The hope is beautiful.
Yes.
Restoring independence and human dignity, but the concerns are very serious. First of all, privacy our thoughts and ethical boundaries.
Yes.
And if it's used in military applications, it can be very dangerous.
Right.
And so, and also another thing is, this technology might be affordable for wealthy people.
That's true. The wealth gap when it comes to cutting edge technology like this, right?
That's right. So we have to get the guardrails right.
Yes.
So I think, yes. And also those technology science development is so fast.
Yes.
Before we could grasp the kind of a controlling over this one.
Yes.
So that's what I'm concerned about.
Okay, well, we're ready for your final closing quote. What do you have for us?
Okay, the greatest frontier is not our outer space.
Okay.
But the human brain itself. And also, I want to reiterate this one. Our brain has neuroplasticity. So if you our brain gets fired, we can get them rewired, which means you are not stuck with the brain you are born with. You can make it better. Or you can make it worse by doing good, by doing bad, or by eating bad food, or by eating good food. So don't lose hope.
All right. Well, thank you for leaving it on a hopeful tone. We'll check in with you next week. Take care, Dr. Liu.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, it's time to wrap up hour number 1. So we're going to end it with this one, A Boy With Love by BTS. Enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
Text me, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Your every picture, you put it not to do 싶어. Come be my teacher, 모든 걸 다 가르쳐줘. You're one, you're two, listen to my baby, 나는 저 하늘을 높이 날고 있어. 근데 네가 내게 좀 더 떠나게라. 이상적인 너무
내 삶은 on top notch 관계사 습관치 않게 만들어버린 너라는 별 하나부터 열까지 모든 게 특별하지 너의 관심사 걸음걸이 말투와 사소한 작은 습관들 같이 난 말했지 너무 작다 내가 영웅이 된 거라고 난 말했지 운명 따윈 전부터 내게 아니었다고 세계의 평화 너내 앉아서 그저 널 지킬 거야
Welcome to Busan. Let me show you around. Here you can find the world's largest musical in-ground fountain and the world's only UN memorial cemetery. Stroll along the coast and explore the largest mountain fortress in Korea. As well as all this, there are so many tourist attractions, beautiful exhibitions, vibrant culture, convenient facilities, and delicious foods unique to Busan. With all the beauty and charm of the amazing city of Busan, you'll find yourself right at home in this ever-changing tourism paradise. So stay with us a while. Busan, your #1 tourist destination. Your home, away from home. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어 방송.
The weather is so nice today. I'm sure this won't be a big deal.
A 3-second long lapse in judgment can burn up an entire mountain, which will take 100 years to recover. We can protect these lush forests if you follow these guidelines. First, do not bring flammable materials to the mountains. Second, do not cook or camp in the mountains. Third, do not litter cigarette butts. Your small actions are the first step towards protecting the beautiful forest. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Welcome back, everybody. This is 8 o'clock Spotlight News. U.S.-Iran ceasefire holds unsteady over Lebanon. The 2-week ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran hangs in the balance as Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz in response to Israel's attacks on Lebanon that killed over 250 people. Israel has ramped up attacks on Lebanon, with it and the U.S. saying that Lebanon is not included in the ceasefire. Iran and Pakistan, which mediated the truce, said that Lebanon is a part of the deal. Iran's foreign minister said that the U.S. must choose between continued war via Israel or a ceasefire. Changwon-dae vows efforts for South Korean vessels transit through Hormuz. The presidential office yesterday pledged utmost efforts to ensure that South Korean ships will be able to safely pass through the Strait of Hormuz following the announcement of the U.S.-Iran ceasefire. A Changwon-dae official said that the top office is determining the exact method and conditions for the passage through communication with relevant countries, noting limitations outlined by Iran. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chul told the Parliamentary Special Budget Committee that the government is not reviewing paying Iran tolls for safe passage through the strait. Kospi jumps 7%. Won reaches 1-month high over Iran ceasefire. The benchmark Kospi index rose by nearly 7% and ended the day at 5,872 points yesterday, with the Korean won rising to 1,471 to the dollar after the U.S.-Iran ceasefire was announced. Trading volume was heavy at 926 million shares worth 35.6 trillion won, with gainers far outnumbering losers 782 to 106. Global oil prices also fell sharply after U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement, with both the West Texas Intermediate and the Brent crude falling under $100 per barrel. Special counsel seeks 15 years for ex-First Lady in corruption appeals. The Minjung-gi special counsel yesterday demanded a 15-year prison term for former First Lady Kim Gun-hee in her appeals trial on multiple corruption charges, including accepting luxury goods from the Unification Church. The special counsel also requested 15 years in the first trial, but the court handed down a 20-month sentence after it acquitted Kim of stock manipulation and violation of the Political Funds Act. Kim's defense denied all charges. Kim apologized for her inconsiderate actions and asked for forgiveness, but also refused to testify to the special counsel's questions. The court will announce its verdict on April 28th. North Korea conducts back-to-back ballistic missile launches. North Korea fired ballistic missiles toward the EC on 2 occasions yesterday in a rare back-to-back launch that came amid Pyongyang's hostile stance toward Seoul. The South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff detected the launches at 8:50 a.m. and again at 2:20 p.m., adding it has strengthened surveillance against the possibility of additional launches and that it has shared relevant information with the U.S. This marks the North fifth confirmed ballistic missile launch this year. And this was Spotlight News. It's time for our first special interview. A recent case involving Tennessee grandmother Angela Lips has brought renewed attention to the risks of using AI in policing. She says she was arrested in July 2025 and jailed for 5 months after being mistakenly identified through facial recognition as a suspect in a bank fraud case in North Dakota. And her experience has sparked important questions about how reliable these systems are and who should be held accountable when things go wrong. The case also highlights how quickly AI tools are being adopted, often without clear safeguards in place. To help us unpack this issue, we're joined by an expert, Professor Matthew Toxin, Associate Dean for Research and Faculty Development and Professor of Law at the University of Utah's S.J. Quinney College of Law. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So to start us off, if you could briefly explain how facial recognition technology is used in policing these days.
Yeah, it's in the United States and in many countries throughout the world where there are high-tech camera networks and surveillance cameras in general. Police are increasingly using facial recognition to track suspects, and in some countries to track everyone. And so, in major cities in the United States, there are networked cameras that use facial recognition. ICE, the Immigration Enforcement Agency of the federal government, has used facial recognition pretty extensively in the past year. And then local police departments can use facial recognition to analyze surveillance camera footage, like in the case of mistaken identity in Tennessee.
Yes. So if we can talk about this case briefly, Ms. Lips, she was wrongfully arrested after being identified using this type of AI technology. So from your perspective, a legal perspective, what exactly went wrong?
It sounds like one of the local police departments in West Fargo, North Dakota, was using facial recognition, through a software company. Analyzed some footage, probably bank footage, because this was a bank fraud investigation case, and then thought they had identified someone, a woman who lived far away in Tennessee. Relayed that to another police department where the bank fraud had taken place, and then they contacted the Tennessee authorities, who arrested the woman. Now, apparently, the woman had never been to North Dakota in her life, and it was a case of mistaken identity.
I see. So it's troubling when we hear about, these types of cases because you think, like, if I've never been to North Dakota, how could I be arrested for a crime? But nonetheless, it happened. Well, recent reports suggest that authorities did acknowledge errors in the identification process. But what does it mean for cases, not just for Miss Lips, but for other cases as well?
Well, this isn't the first example of someone being falsely arrested based on a facial recognition, match that was an error. I think, going forward, I hope that police departments are more cautious about relying exclusively on facial recognition matches. But I think this will continue to be an ongoing problem until there's a little more legal regulation in terms of how facial recognition is used.
So I'm going to assume that in the United States for now, because obviously there are different states and even different local jurisdictions within those states, that it might differ from state to state?
Yeah, certainly. The use of facial recognition varies, I think, widely from, town to town and state to state, city to city, certainly. So it's a real patchwork of approaches that police departments are taking.
Right.
There isn't a unifying law that governs what they do, and there aren't federal restrictions on what federal agencies do. So it's a bit of a free-for-all right now.
And in terms of the facial recognition technology right now in real-world situations, I know that you're a legal scholar, but from what you understand and from what you can tell us, how reliable is this right now?
My understanding of its reliability is it's very good generally, but not perfect. And so they're a bit like AI in general in a lot of areas. So it's a good indicator. It's a good start. It's useful to people and to agencies, but it's not 100% perfect. It's not completely error-free, and it does. The use of it is going to lead to misidentifications in some cases. So how we employ it, given that it's never going to be perfect, is the tricky policy question.
And in terms of AI being used as a basis or even a main basis for an arrest, what are your thoughts on this? Because I would think that, a person, at least, legally, you stand accused, but, you're not supposed to be presumed guilty until, all the legal processes are followed, right?
Yeah, and it will take a lot more to get a conviction of guilt than just a facial recognition match, but it doesn't necessarily take more to get an arrest, right? All you need is probable cause for an arrest, meaning basically it's more likely than not, or there's a decent probability that a person did it. So I think there is an issue with relying exclusively on a facial recognition match. It seems like there should be a requirement that at least some additional thing is required. It can be a little tricky because if you ask, a police officer to verify the match, sometimes the fact that the AI has matched it, is going to be suggestive to them. So there's no silver bullet to fix this problem. But yeah.
Well, in cases like this, who should be held responsible, in your opinion, between the police, the tech companies that have made this AI software, or maybe a little bit of both?
Yeah, I think the police are maybe the most obvious place to start, in the sense that it seems like they violated this woman's constitutional rights in some way, by detaining her for so long, or by arresting her, falsely. So she may have a lawsuit for a civil rights violation there, or false imprisonment, perhaps, things like that. For the AI companies, it might be a matter of how they market these devices. Are they telling the police that this thing is flawless and that they can rely on it? If that's the case, then I could see some liability for them. If they're being a little more careful about how they think this should be used, and police are just sort of using it outside the scope of what they've been told, then in that case, I don't think the AI companies would have direct liability for that.
I see. Well, do you think that the current laws on the books right now, that they're, that it's enough in terms of protection against mistakes like this? And I'm sure that there are many more cases where it is useful, but still there are, a handful of cases where it's not.
I would think that it would be useful to pass some new laws, just making it clear that you can't rely on facial recognition alone. That, procedurally there has to be more before an arrest gets made. It's not 100% clear that that's like what has to happen under the U.S. Constitution.
Right.
But a state or even a local jurisdiction could require that procedurally and protect its citizens from false arrest.
Well, for a final wrap-up question for you today, Professor, what do you think needs to happen? What is the best case scenario if we were to, wave a magic wand and say, hey, this might be good, maybe combining, AI with this or these types of legal tools? What do you think it would be best?
I think it would be using facial recognition as a source of leads, of evidence that human investigators could follow up and confirm, rather than just putting in an order, in this case from North Dakota far away to Tennessee and saying, arrest this person. And it can be difficult, I suppose, with cross-state things, but there could have been more investigation in this case. I think the humans needed to get involved in this case and in cases like it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on air with us to help us unfold what happened in this particular case. And of course, we'll keep an eye out for maybe any legal changes in the future. Thank you, Professor.
Thanks very much.
And this was Professor Matthew Toxin. We talked about AI facial recognition, and in this case, a wrongful arrest. Ms. Lips was in jail for 5 months after being mistakenly identified. Can't even imagine, through facial recognition. All right, I'll be back in just a moment with our second special interview.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning입니다.
Good morning.
좋은 아침입니다.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Major news, local buzz, and expert takes. It's all here on Morning Wave in Busan. Brighten up your morning commute with Morning Wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
This is our second special interview for this Thursday morning. So on April 7th local time, just hours before a looming U.S. strike deadline, the U.S. and Iran agreed to a conditional 2-week ceasefire, keeping the Strait of Hormuz open to global shipping. And we broke the news here on our program yesterday. And now both President Donald Trump and Iran, they have portrayed this last-minute ceasefire deal as a victory for both sides. So with talks set in Islamabad on April 11th, I believe, attention now turns to what this ceasefire could mean and what comes next. And there are so many moving facets to this story. We're going to find out more with Professor Michael Birch, Associate Professor of Political Science at Eckerd College. Hi, welcome back, Professor.
Hello, thank you for having me on as always.
Yes. So give us the lowdown. What happened with this ceasefire deal, brokered, late, I guess yesterday, our time, but between the U.S. and Iran?
Well, it's really interesting in that, as we can see a day later, that there's still a lot of confusion about what exactly is meant by this ceasefire and how extensive it is. It came about because the international community was becoming increasingly concerned as the rhetoric, especially from the United States, had become more bellicose, with the United States threatening to target bridges, power plants. Then President Trump's social media post saying that the wiping out of a civilization. And so a lot of other actors, mainly Pakistan, but in addition, China, trying to bring the sides to an agreement. And a ceasefire was reached, but we've seen since then that each side seems to think the ceasefire might mean something a little bit different.
Right, exactly. And so in terms of the different angles that each side is taking, can we get into that a little bit? What does the U.S. think has been agreed upon versus what Iran thinks has been agreed upon?
Well, so I'll flip it a little bit and look at what Iran thinks first, because it seems like the United States is responding to that now. So Iran believed that the ceasefire would be a total ceasefire, not just between the United States and Israel with Iran, but also in regards to Israel's ongoing campaign in Lebanon against Hezbollah.
Right.
Israel and Hezbollah had fought since October 7th, but this most recent wave of violence started during the Iran war and had been linked towards the Iran war. So Iran argued the ceasefire was meant to be a total ceasefire. Now, the United States is focused on reopening the Strait of Hormuz to allow for global shipping to resume, and has come out and said, well, the focus on the ceasefire was a lack of attacks on Iran and the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and Lebanon is not included in the ceasefire. And so we're seeing, right, like as you and I are having this conversation and as our listeners are tuning in, like this is unfolding right now, trying to understand, do we really have a ceasefire where all sides agree on what is included?
Exactly. Hence the confusion right now. And in terms of Israel, what is Israel's stance in all this? Because obviously still continuing to attack Lebanon, right?
That is correct. When it comes to Israel, we should note, right, that the United States and Israel were coordinating and fighting the war in Iran together.
Yes.
However, Israel, from all reports, was not involved in the ceasefire negotiations. And so because they were not included with the negotiations, they agreed to not attack Iran, but felt like that still gives them free rein to target Hezbollah in Lebanon, arguing, and so they are continuing their missions. And there's pressure because within Israel, the opposition parties are quite critical today of Prime Minister Netanyahu, arguing this war has been undertaken and we have not really achieved our objectives. So Netanyahu might want to continue fighting in Lebanon to try to point to some victories.
Yes. And I know that, of course, war, takes its toll on human beings and infrastructure as well. But we got to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. I want to ask you a question regarding that because up until the announcement of the ceasefire, we were hearing about Iran letting certain ships pass through, certain, national, flag-bearing ships were allowed to pass through. And then now it seems, from what I understand, that is it a complete closure once again?
It sounds as of right now that it might be a complete closure because this really is Iran's strongest weapon in this conflict. More than the missiles or the drones that they are launching that they had launched throughout the Middle East. This is what has really gotten the attention of not just the United States, but the international community writ large. And so why China, why Pakistan, especially Asian countries import so much of their oil and energy needs from the Middle East, more than North America does. And so that's how these Asian countries got involved in the negotiations. And so Iran, realizing this is their major pressure point that they can use to highlight, they have huge pressure to remain involved with Lebanon. Hezbollah has been an ally of theirs. They have lost many allies in the past couple of years.
Right.
And if they were to not pressure for Lebanon now, they would really lose a lot of, have huge reputational costs with their remaining allies. So they need to keep this closed.
I see. Well, can we talk about the upcoming talks scheduled soon, April 11th, from what I understand, in Islamabad? What are we to expect? Do we know what issues are likely to be discussed?
Yes, well, so it seems like, and we have to say it seems like because there is just so much conflicting interpretations by various countries right now.
Yes.
That the focal point is going to be the Iranians issued 10 points that they want to focus on. And President Trump has at least signaled a willingness to use this as a starting point for negotiations. And these 10 points involve everything from the Iranian perspective, receiving reconstruction cost, sanction relief from not just the United States, but one of the 10 points is various United Nations sanctions against. And it's something to kind of keep in mind, right, is that in the past year, it's been very focused United States and Israel versus Iran. But there is a history of UN Security Council resolutions that were passed. For any Security Council resolution to pass, you have to have the 5 permanent members not veto it. And so that would roll back a lot, right? It would involve not just the belligerents in this conflict, but having the international community agree. Additionally, managing the Strait of Hormuz. Before this war began, the Strait of Hormuz, as part of international shipping, was just open to all. Now Iran is proposing a permanent role in perhaps tolling the waterways. And we've seen Greece, one country in particular that is very involved in global shipping, saying that's a non-starter. And so these are going to be some of the issues to be discussed, including how do we guarantee we don't see another war again between these various nations? And those are going to be the main focal points.
Well, of course, we look forward to that date as the rest of the world awaits to see what happens. But thank you so much for coming on air with us to discuss the very latest of what's happening. Take care, Professor.
Thank you. You do the same. Have a wonderful day.
This was Professor Michael Birch, and we talked about the ceasefire. It seems real tentative at this point with Israel in the mix, Lebanon, Hezbollah as well. We'll continue to follow this story. And I'll be back with your updated traffic and weather. It is time for your updated traffic report. First up, let's talk about this accident on Gangmyeon-daero from Sasang to Hadan by the Eumgung Agricultural Market. It's been cleared, but there's still backup ensuing. It's congested on Dongso Overpass from Wonhyun Ramp to Jinyang Pangnam Tunnel. It's backed up on Nakdong Namno from Gangso Police Station to Seongsan three-way intersection. There's also backup on Gwanmun-daero from Mora Overpass to Baegang Tunnel right now. Currently, it's 12 degrees Celsius here in Busan. It's apparently raining, and it's going to go up to 16 today. Across the nation, it's just raining, with heavy rain along the Jeonnam and Gyeongnam coasts and Jeju. The spring rain will also bring about heavy winds. And most of the river or stream side walking paths have been closed here in Busan on account of the heavy rain forecast. So please be aware of this. And this was your traffic and weather. It is time for Waggle Waggle Tea Time. Haley's back.
Hello.
Yes. So, today we've been talking about the cherry blossoms and, people have been sending in photos. PD님, are some of the photos ready? Okay.
Ooh.
So don't criticize the photographer, but we're going to post some photos right now. Okay, guess where this is? Where might that be?
Seen that.
Yes, this is right in front of the station. I had to get it so that, we got the station. This is from Dalmaji. I was at a little cafe.
That's pretty.
Yes, and so it was such a beautiful day. And this was on on the way from lunch to that cafe, I took a photo from my sister's car and like
such a timeline of your day. Like you left the station, you went to a cafe on your way back.
Right, it was all in
my
one
God.
day. But yeah, I tried my best. So there you go. Photos by Kat. And Tommy asks, you look so tired today. Is everything okay? Thank you, Tommy. No, I'm doing actually great.
Oh my
Doing
God.
fine.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yes, our fashion
Tommy.
police.
Tommy.
Yes. Well, we're gonna jump into Wagger. So let's talk about this alleged assault of a migrant factory worker involving an air compressor.
This is a horrible story.
Oh gosh.
The police have booked the owner of a metal coating factory in Hwasong for assault because what the owner claims was a prank, was a joke, has incited outrage and a call from even the president for a thorough investigation.
Okay, let's break it down. What happened?
Whatever happened, we know it's not a joke. But in February, the company's owner was on the floor, approached his worker, a Thai national who was bent over at a station. And at that point, the owner allegedly shot an air compressor, commonly we call that the air gun in Korean, into his lower body.
Why?
It was a joke.
Okay.
Sure. The worker, it wasn't, because the worker suffered several internal injuries to his intestines, including abdominal swelling. So his stomach was swelling and had difficulty breathing. And by the way, he has still not yet fully recovered and had to go through surgery.
Okay, that is so not funny, but yet the owner claims that this was a prank.
He does, and it's not all. What happened after also seems problematic. The worker says even after he sustained these injuries, he wasn't able to go to the hospital immediately. He had to return to his dormitory, and then even after he did, the owner allegedly told the worker that he was gonna come pick him up so he would leave the country.
What?
Why? Because the victim entered the country in 2011 on an E9 work permit visa. The visa ran out, so he is under undocumented status. And I'm just going to personally connect the dots here, and probably because of this vulnerability, maybe that's why.
Okay, well, it seems like there are multiple workplace violations to the story.
So, I mean, if this is true, then at least the worker knew about him hiring an undocumented worker, so that's an immigration issue. With the story breaking, President Lee Jae-myung said that violence and discrimination against migrant workers, these are unacceptable and serious crimes. He called on the police and the labor ministry to thoroughly investigate the case and directed the government to fully inspect not only this, but the realities of human rights violations against migrant workers.
Right, because being undocumented is one thing, but what about human rights, right?
That's an immigration issue that doesn't expose you to assault in the workplace.
Where are we on the investigation?
Right, so the police has formed a dedicated team and booked the owner along with a travel ban issued against him. They're going to summon him to question him about the circumstances and the intent behind this action. The Labor Ministry has also launched an inspection on that business, looking into possibilities of workplace harassment, unpaid wages, and any other violations of industrial safety laws. The Justice Ministry, on its part, they're going to launch a task force investigation and also try to help the victim by providing him with a more stable immigration status.
Yes, and not laughing now, I'm sure. Not funny. Okay. Up next, we have some changes coming to air travel regarding battery packs.
Right. So further restrictions on battery packs, we call that 보조 배터리, that you can carry on board airplanes.
Okay.
So starting later this month, April 20th, you can only carry up to 2 power banks, and they must be 160 watts or less. You also cannot use these battery packs either to charge your devices or use the airplane power sources to charge the batteries themselves.
Okay.
This is an update from the current rules, which say that for smaller power banks of 100 watts or less, you can actually carry up to 5 of them on board. But the new rules will be stricter. Keep in mind that the portable battery packs can never be in checked bags. They must always be with you in person on board the airplane, and power banks of about 160 watts are banned regardless of the number. But that's really confusing. What is 160 watts? So I brought this.
Okay.
This is
visual.
Here's my hand. My hand is fairly small. Here's a computer paper. So this is about 100 watts. So this is kind of the quote-unquote smaller pack that you can carry in up to 5 on airplanes right now. So 160 is about slightly bigger. So starting on the 20th, you'll be able to carry 2 of these.
Your hands are so small. I was just thinking about that the whole time.
So if you have like an elementary school age child, this is what the size of my hand, yeah. Roughly similar.
Okay. And this isn't just applicable to domestic airlines, right?
That's the big news here because the Land Infrastructure and Transport Ministry announced that its proposals were approved by the International Civil Aviation Organization and thus confirmed.
Okay.
So South Korea has been tightening regulations, we know, against these power banks since that Air Busan fire last January. But because there were no international guidelines, there was a lot of confusion because what if you're flying in a Korean national airline and then flying back on an international airline? The rules are so different. So this means that these standards are now the international standards.
Oh.
Of course, actual regulations and how they're imposed may differ from country to country, airline to airline. Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, they already have these strengthened regulations. So before you fly, always check with your individual airline. But those are the basic rules.
Well, thank you for letting us know about the latest on this. And to our next story, the shortage of raw materials like naphtha could even affect the upcoming local elections. Why and how?
I mean, economic policy, of course, but even how elections look. Because the very quintessential look of Korean elections is banners, right? 현수막.
Yes.
And according to those in Busan's banner manufacturing, the price of raw materials have been going up, and naphtha is in everything, including plastics and vinyl that go into the banners.
Okay.
So they're going up by up to 30%. And one local banner maker in Haeundae said he's basically never seen prices spike so high in his 3 decades in this industry.
Okay, and so some are calling for parties to not just basically don't make these banners, right?
Right. So Civic Group is Korea Zero Waste Movement Network. They're actually urging parties to stop using the banners. So I do have some data. In the last local elections in 2022, 1,557 ton of banners came out of the election, and they're not all recycled. Only about under 50% are recycled. So that's a local election. A lot more are used for general elections,
right?
Some less for presidential elections. So the idea is that, hey, how about we don't use them at all?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with
for
that
the environment. Yes. Okay, well, thank you for going over all the Woggly stories and for, of course, your photos earlier on and for using your hands.
My small hands.
We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank
Bye.
you. Everybody, this was Haley. We're going to take a short song break. This is 봄이 좋냐 by 10cm.
꽃이 언제 피는지 그딴 게 뭐가 중요한데 날씨가 언제 풀리는지 그딴 거 알면 뭐 할 건데 추울 땐 춥다고 붙어 있고 더우면 덥다고 니네 진짜 이상해 너의 달콤한 남친은 사실 PC방을 더 가고 싶어 하지 겁나 피곤하대 봄이 그렇게도 좋냐 멍청이들아 벚꽃이 그렇게도 예쁘디 바보들아 결국 꽃잎은 떨어지지 니네도 떨어져라 몽땅 망해라 망해라 아무 문제 없는데 왜 나는 안 생기는 건데 날씨도 완전 풀렸는데 감기는 왜 또 걸리는데 추울 땐 추워서 안 생기고 더우면 더워서 인생은 불공평해 너의 완벽한 연애는 아직 웃고 있지만 너도 차일 거야 겁나 지독하게 봄이 그렇게도 좋냐 멍청이들아 벚꽃이 그렇게도 예쁘디 바보들아 결국 꽃잎은 떨어지지 니네도 떨어져라 몽땅 손잡지 마 발짱 끼지 마 끌어안지 마 제발 아무것도 하지 좀마 설레지 마 심쿵하지 마 행복하지 마 내 눈에 띄지 마 봄이 그렇게도 좋냐 멍청이들아 벚꽃이 그렇게도 예쁘디 바보들아 결국 꽃잎은 떨어지지 니네도 떨어져라 몽땅 망해라 망해라 망해라
It's time for cultural interlude. We have Michael Kang in the studio. Hello.
Good morning.
How are you?
It's good.
It's good.
좋습니다.
아, 네네.
네. 늘 그렇듯이 좋습니다.
네. Question.
Yes.
Where is your favorite cherry blossom viewing spot?
Oh my. Usually I would go to Japan to look at the, cherry blossoms and stuff. But recently I found this really nice place. I mean, 온천천 is one of them, I think.
Yes, definitely.
But we also have, so I go back, back and forth, Seoul and Busan.
Yes.
So in Seoul, there's a place called 불광천. 아시는 분들은 아실 거예요. 가보셨을 것 같은데. It's a very, very beautiful stream.
Yes.
It's filled with cherry blossoms. I actually got to see the cherry blossom trail last week.
Yes, and it was
with
beautiful.
with my girlfriend. It was so romantic. 너무 좋았어요.
네. 프로포즈 빨리빨리 하세요. 그래, 로맨틱한 길에.
좋은 소식 조만간 제가 좀 들려드리겠습니다.
진짜요?
네.
Okay.
I'll keep you updated. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, stay tuned.
네네. All right. Well, for today, we're going to have to focus on whatever you have brought us. What are we talking about?
So this year, some of the world's biggest music stars are back on tour across the United States.
Yes.
So it's drawing massive crowds. It's not just, like big crowds. It's like massive, enormous crowds.
Okay.
And not just to concert venues, however. So according to Airbnb, these tours are reshaping how fans travel. So from multi-city concert trips to group stays and even festival planning before lineups are announced. So music is now driving an entirely new kind of tourism. So what we're seeing here is the rise of what you could call concert tourism. 공연 tourism,
Yes.
right? So fans are no longer just attending shows in their local city. Instead, they're planning trips. They're actually planning trips,
Yes.
sometimes across states or even countries, to follow their favorite artists.
Okay.
So this includes traveling to multiple tour stops, coordinating group accommodations, and building entire itineraries around concerts.
Right. I mean, it's a huge thing. It's not just about the music anymore, right? It's kind of about the process, the journey.
Yes, exactly. So the concert becomes the centerpiece of a broader travel experience.
Yes. So in terms of this trend, I mean, why is it taking off right now? Why now?
There are a few key reasons.
Okay.
So first, many artists are returning to large-scale touring for the first time since 2019.
Ooh,
so that's like 7 years.
COVID.
COVID.
Post-COVID, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So now we're seeing the recovery in full effect.
Yes.
So that gap has built up huge anticipation among fans. Second, younger audiences, especially Gen Z, place a very high value on experiences over material goods.
That's true.
Yeah, so they prefer tickets over, what do you call it, necklaces, for example, right? That's how I would put it, for example, right?
Yes.
And third, social media plays a huge role, right? Attending a concert in a different city or multiple cities has become part of a shareable lifestyle.
I agree. These are good reasons. So let's talk about one of the trends that, this Airbnb thing identified. Fans traveling across multiple cities.
Yes. And this is what we might call tour chasing. So fans follow artists from city to city.
Okay.
It's almost like a traveling community. So, for example, Boston in the United States saw a dramatic spike in accommodation searches after tour announcements. So, in just 2 weeks, search volumes increased by triple digits.
Wow.
So, for a specific artist, the numbers were striking. So, searches rose about 200% for Ariana Grande and Noah Kahan, and around 170% for Ed Sheeran.
Okay.
And about 130% for Bruno Mars.
Okay, so these are huge numbers we're talking about.
Yes, it really shows how powerful music fandom can be in shaping travel behavior.
Okay. Well, another interesting trend is what is being called fandom travel.
Yes. So this is where fans travel together and stay together. So instead of booking separate hotel rooms, groups of fans, often friends or online communities, look for shared accommodations. So they want places with multiple bedrooms, large common spaces, and even kitchens where they can cook together.
Wow, so like the accommodation itself becomes a part of the experience. It sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's about bonding, not just attending the event. Right? And this is especially popular among Gen Z.
Yes. I hear that one particular artist has become like a major driver of this trend. I'm talking about none other than Harry Styles.
Yes. Harry Styles. 많은 분들도 아실 것 같은데. Particularly his extended performances in New York and New Jersey. So after those shows were announced, accommodation searches among Gen Z for certain weekends jumped by over 200%.
Wow.
What's even more interesting is that group travel searches increased about 300%. Wow.
I mean, that's like... Those numbers are just like, wow.
Yes.
So this suggests a very social kind of travel.
Exactly. So for many fans, the concert is just one part of a shared cultural moment.
Okay. Well, I want to shift to festivals real quick. There's also a growing trend of planning trips before the lineups are even announced, I hear.
Yes, and it's very fascinating. So traditionally, people waited to see who was performing before committing to travel, right?
Right.
When it comes to festivals. But now, festivals themselves have become destinations. So, like events like Coachella, Lollapalooza, Chicago, and the Ultra Music Festival, or UMF in short, are seeing significant increases in search interest even before full details are released.
Okay.
So searches rose roughly 70% for Coachella, 40% for Lollapalooza, and 10% for UMF.
Yes, so it seems like people trust the brand of the festival itself. They're willing to bet on it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's no longer just about specific artists. It's about the overall experience. So, compare this with festivals that happen in South Korea.
Yes,
like even myself, I look back to one of the festivals that I've been to, and all I can think of is the good food they have. Like the food vendors, like the food trucks.
So important.
Yeah. 그러니까 음악을 들으러 가는 것도 있지만 it's also about the good food and the good drinks that they have and the good merch. That's only exclusive to these festivals, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And some of them are real exclusive, right? So it does sound like we're moving much more toward an experience-driven model of travel, right?
That's exactly right. So travel is no longer just about sightseeing. It's about participating in events, communities, and cultural moments.
Okay.
So concerts and festivals provide a powerful anchor for that.
So I do want to ask you this. So how are different platforms, like the Air thing and thing, like how are they adapting to this trend then?
Yes. So they're expanding beyond accommodation. When we think of those accommodation platforms, like as you said, Air thing and thing, we normally think of these platforms as, it's just an app to find hotels or a place to stay.
Yeah, to sleep.
But now, for example, they're offering services like private chefs. like
nice.
your very own chef.
Okay, what else?
And massage sessions to help festival goers relax and recharge because they have to travel a lot, I'm sure.
Full
right?
experience.
They also provide unique experiences such as learning DJ skills.
Oh my gosh.
Or even booking a private tarot reading. 타로 카드 읽어주는 것도 해준대요.
너무 재밌을 것 같은데요.
Wow,
The
yeah.
learning how to DJ?
And learning how to DJ
Wow.
while you're on the way to see your favorite artists.
That's amazing. That's quite the range though,
I
right?
would try it. I would try it for sure.
I would too. I mean, like in the private tarot reading, that's like hot right now, right?
Yes, very much.
Yes. So in terms of other things, what about the practical side? How are they making group travel easier?
There are several features designed just for that. So things like superhost badges and guest reviews help users find reliable accommodations.
Okay.
There's also a wish list sharing feature, which makes it easier for groups to decide together.
Oh.
And importantly, there is a book now, pay later option in many platforms, which allows travelers to reserve a place without immediate payment.
Okay. So that kind of lowers the barrier to entering into planning and all that,
Exactly.
right?
It encourages early booking, which is crucial for high-demand events like concerts and festivals.
Right. So in a nutshell, since we have to close up, what would you say? What does this mean for the future?
So as long as artists continue to tour and fans continue to value experiences, this trend will only grow. That's my expectation. So we're seeing a blending of industries, which I'm talking about music, travel, hospitality, and even social media, all coming together.
I see. Well, thank you for going over all these hot trends. And it's just not the concert or the music itself anymore, apparently, right?
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, we look forward to next week as well. Wishing you the very best. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Well, it is time to wrap up, but not before. I want to give you a mini apology. So many photos were sent in, but can't post them all. So what we're going to do is post some of the photos that were sent in. And by the way, 공주님 등장했네요. So yes, that's from 고수. And other photos that you, the waivers, have sent in, we're going to post them as we play our final song. So once again, thank you. We're going to continue to post the photos. So here we go. This is 출국 by Harim. Have a beautiful day today. Bye, everybody.
내게 네가 없는 하루만큼 낯설 테니까 모두 이별하는 사람들 그 속에 나 우두커니 어울리는 게 우리 정말 헤어졌나 봐 모르게 바라보았어 네가 떠난 모습 너의 가족 멀리서 손을 들어주었지 하늘에 네가 더 가까이 있으니 기도해 주겠니 떠올리지 않게 흐느끼지 않게 무관심한 가슴 가질 수 있게 도착하면 마지막 전화 한 번만 기운찬 목소리로 잘 왔다고 인사 한 번만 그저 그것뿐이면 돼 습관처럼 알고 싶던 익숙한 너의 안부 거기까지만 이별하는 사람들 그 속에 나 우두커니 어울리는 게 정말 헤어졌나 봐 모르게 바라보았어 네가 떠난 모습 너의 가족 멀리 주겠니